Hi guys, I'm Rebecca from Displaced Housewife, and this month on Splurge, I'm going to make Bourbon Caramel Millionaire Bites. They're actually in the latest special edition of Bake from Scratch that is co-branded. So it's co-branded with the Feedfeed, and it includes a ton of fun holiday cookie recipes from all of my favorite bloggers. So I'm super excited today that not only do I get to make them for you, but I get to share the recipe. So hang tight to the end and there will be a link off to the recipe. There will also be a link to purchase the magazine if you want to get it yourself. And then I'm also going to show you guys how to fuss with gold leaf because it can be a little moody. Okay, I want to explain you guys the cookie a little bit. I didn't go for a super crispy shortbread. I like it when it's a little bit softer, and I really cut back on the sugar because these are kind of sweet cookies. So I have my recipe here. I have my dry ingredients, which are flour, sugar, cornstarch, and salt. Super simple. I have some unsalted cold butter cut up. I'm gonna put it in the mixer. I put the dry ingredients in and ran the machine just for a couple seconds to mix those up. And then I sprinkled the cold butter around, and I'm gonna mix that in until a ball just starts to form. It will look about like this when it's done. You could definitely not use a stand mixer for this and just work it in with your hands until the butter is kind of saturated all of the flour. So what I did to prepare my pan is I put some parchment paper in it and left enough so that it draped over the side. And this is so that when the bites are done, you can easily pull this out. And the other thing I like to do is break up the crust into these little chunks before I press it in to try and make it a little more even. And if your hands are sticking too much, just get them lightly damp to press down. So I pressed it in as best as I could, and then I used the back of this measuring cup to kind of smooth it and even it out a little bit. It's not perfect, but honestly, just do your best, and that is good enough. While our shortbread crust bakes in the oven at 350 for 35 minutes, we are going to melt 3/4 of a cup of butter and 3/4 a cup of brown sugar. And then as soon as those get melty, we're going to crank up the heat. Okay, these aren't the prettiest photos, but what I want you to do when you have the butter and the sugar melted, I want you to whisk it really well so that it becomes completely blended. See how it's separated? We want to make sure that all that gets mixed in together. And the smell is absolutely insane. Okay, so this is pretty well mixed together. I'm gonna put the cream in right now and then whisk it and turn up the heat. Look how pretty that is. So it's pretty much cooked down. It's been going at this for, I would say, 8 minutes. And then now I'm gonna add in my bourbon, some salt, and my vanilla bean. I put the scraped vanilla bean in there because there's no way I could do that with one hand. The salt is in there, and then we're gonna eyeball our bourbon because that's how we do, am I right? You know, I mean, that looks like... A couple of quick notes. It really depends on how long you reduce that caramel to how much you end up with in the end. The recipe makes about a cup. This time I have a little bit more than a cup, probably because I put a lot of bourbon in. That's both the caramel and the crust. Look how pretty it is. It's all nicely bronzed. Need to cool 100% before you introduce them to each other. So turn on some D. Martin, mix up some martinis, and wait a minute. I just poured the caramel all over there. I'm gonna wrap it up tightly and put it in the fridge for at least 12 hours, up to 24. You could probably even do 48, and let everything set up together. So I let the cookie part and the caramel sit in the fridge overnight. They got nice and firm. I'm gonna pull it out with the parchment handles, cut the sides off so they're nice 90-degree angles, and then we're gonna drizzle with some chocolate. So one quick note before we do that on timing. So you'll note they really perform better when you give them that 12 to 24 hours to firm up. They'll cut nicer, cleaner. So just make sure you allow that when you're making them. I took them out of the pan. They stuck a little bit where the caramel was. If you just get a knife and run it under warm water and sort of gently run it around there, it should loosen it up. And then I cut off the edges so I'd have those nice 90 degrees. So I cut them into about 1-inch squares, and then I have my chocolate ganache over here, and then I'm gonna dribble drabble some of it over one of these for you guys to see. I kept delaying when I was putting the chocolate on, so I would have to sort of warm it up or thin it a bit. I feel like I may have thinned it too much, but I sort of nudge it all around the top. And okay, so I did not dribble drabble this one very well, so I'm gonna taste it. It's like a candy. Okay, I will be back and we're gonna put some gold leaf on these babies. This is the gold leaf that I'm going to use. I like the loose edible gold leaf for this particular project. I've used the sheets before, but it would be too cumbersome for this. Just grab 2 toothpicks and grab a tiny piece of the gold leaf and place it in the center. See how good that looks? I just put a small little piece on there. And then I'm going to show you, for those of you that can't be bothered with the gold leaf, I'm going to show you what you can do. And they'll still be yummy. Hold on a sec. So if you don't feel like doing the gold leaf, it's totally fine. These are so yummy with just like a couple little flakes. Okay, that was aggressive a little bit. Of sea salt flakes on top. All right, so the next screen will be a link to the recipe. Following that will be a link to purchase the magazine if you want. I hope you guys make them. Tag me so I can see it. And thanks to everyone for being here.